We got to mess with the music and whatnot. Just getting fancier and fancier, and it's appropriate because almost a year to the day, returning back to the show, we have Tyler Jacob Moore with us. You might know him from Shameless. You might know him from Barry. You might know him from Once Upon a Time. Woo! It's Tyler Jacob Moore. Welcome back.
I'm glad that we previously discussed all those photos and they were all approved. I'm glad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All from my personal collection.
Right. They were. Right. I don't know if the audience saw, but they were all signed at the bottom, for dear Chase. Love your work. Keep it up. All that.
Great to have you back. It's been almost a year. I think in 3 more days, it will have been a year since you were on the show last.
That is wild, isn't it? I couldn't believe that. I feel like time is, I don't know if it's moving too slow or too fast. It's like ever since the pandemic, it's a weird time suck. I have no idea. That is crazy that it's been a year.
It's why I know we've done a lot in that time, and I'm sure you have as well.
Well, probably less. My entire industry was shut down, but yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah,
we did. I think the first thing I did during pandemic was an episode of Magnum PI. And then since then, I've done an episode of Perry Mason, the second season. I don't know when that comes out, but it's great. But yeah, and it's like the pandemic sets, real weird thing. Everybody's wearing hazmat suits. It's all crazy. Like the first one was the Magnum PI in Hawaii. And that was they tracked everything. They tracked where you were. Everybody was wearing masks and big, screens and face shields all the time for everything. Getting in hair and makeup was crazy. You just couldn't the hair and makeup people were trying to work around a mask and a shield, and it was wild. So it took an adjustment. I think by Perry Mason, I think people sort of figured it out and had gotten a little easier, but it's a weird trip. Things are officially starting to get back to normal here, but all the protocols, at least for now, I think aren't up till the end of April. So for us, still on sets and stuff, you still are wearing the full stuff and masks on sets, and everybody's wearing the face shields and and having to get tested and show all your vax paperwork and whatever else. So it's still kind of crazy, but hopefully here by this summer, maybe things will be back to quasi normal. I hope.
Well, I feel like that's a good place to springboard into this mental health question. So, I mean, with being an actor, that being your bread and butter there, how was your mental health affected with the pandemic and everything? I mean, your industry was greatly affected by it.
Yeah, I am regularly in therapy, and I think everybody, if you can, you should be. I mean, a lot of it is a financial thing where you just can't, a lot of people can't afford either the time or the money because it's expensive and it takes time. But my therapist at the beginning of it, or towards the end of it, actually, I think asked me how I was doing. I think this is the end of 2021. And I didn't know how to answer because it's I don't, are you depressed? Are you whatever? It's yeah, but isn't everybody don't I don't know how to gauge your mental health when everybody's having such a wild, wacky moment. Because it's I wasn't the only, the entertainment industry was the only one shut down. They basically, outside of, a few industries, they basically shut everybody down and businesses closed and it was crazy. So I think it wasn't as extreme of a time for me because I'm used to not working for months on end as an actor. So it's aside from the lack of auditions, which was weird, that was weird. And it's weird still to this day. It's weird getting back into it just because now we never see anybody in person anymore. So, I spent, 12, 13 years getting good at auditioning in person, going to casting offices, figuring that career out. And now that's gone. And now it's all about self-taping and doing stuff from home, which is a whole different thing. You don't know the people. There's not a connection there. And so I would say like it's still to this day, I'm not totally, I haven't totally adapted yet to the self-tape thing. And we've been doing it for now a year and a half, probably at least. And I still haven't fully gotten where I would like to be at the quality of my auditions and things. And so that affects me a little bit, mental health wise. There are days where I'm like, God, I thought I had it figured out. I was just, I had a lot of good things right before the pandemic. So like March, what was it? March 2020? Is that when
I think so.
it started? Yeah. So like right about that time, there was a bunch of pilots that I was up for and going out for. And the year before I'd done really good work and felt really good about stuff and was kind of really, being self-aware, not like egotistical, just very self-aware of like how, being like, okay, I was doing good work and people were seeing it and acknowledging. And it's like, you have to do about 10 good auditions for a casting office for them to trust you and like, bring you in and have you have a legitimate shot at things. And so I finally felt like, okay, I'm on the cusp of making that next step in my career and doing more serious regular things and lead things. And then the pandemic hit and everything shut down and it just changed everything. So I think to this day, I'm still not as wildly confident as I was, 2 years ago. So I think probably my confidence is taking a hit. But I think that's just, a side effect of the pandemic and all that stuff. So aside from the general depressed feelings about industry shutdown and changes, like all the streaming stuff has just escalated extremely. Theater, like the sadness about movies maybe going away. Like that's a hard thing, when you're in just like, because I've always preferred movies. I've always preferred to go to the theater and see something on the big screen and do that stuff. And now that model, it's not dead, but it's certainly it's on death's door, certainly for indie movies. Like if you're not a Disney Marvel movie or if you're not a whatever, like you just the financial, it doesn't add up.
Yeah. I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once the other day.
How was it? I haven't seen it yet.
It is incredible. It's absolutely
okay.
But I was so happy at just how many people were in that theater for that movie. And because it's such a wild, it's such a unique film, and it is an indie movie, and
right.
I was so happy to see that many people there for a movie like that.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I think there still is, people still want to see great movies, like really well done, good scripts and good, well acted and stuff. I just think financially, it's just harder to convince businesses to do that because they really have to be great. Like the movies, like if you're going to make a movie that doesn't, like, you can make a not so good sci-fi space epic and it'll still make money. If you make a bad indie, you're gone. But that money's gone. So I get it from a business side, but it still is kind of sad, and to think like, what will it look like in the future? Will movie theaters will go the way of like opera houses? You know what I mean? Where like there's a few really ornate, nice ones that are really expensive in cities, but like, AMC, like the chains and the big like mall stuff, maybe that doesn't exist, in 20, 30 years. I don't know.
Yeah, I worked at the movie theater at the end of last year.
Okay.
And
what was it? Did you notice less?
I noticed more people were ready to come back. I mean,
that's good.
Was like people want to see things in the theater. I mean,
that's great.
Something that people were ready to come back to, and so it's cool from the ground level of you hear everybody say like, oh, is this dead? Is this
right?
And even for me, down here at the bottom of just starting making stuff and everything.
Yeah.
When the pandemic hit and this industry started getting hit so hard by all this, I'm thinking, I've strived my whole life towards this. Is this even this anymore? Is this going away? And it was weird to think about. But yeah, working at the movie theater definitely showed me that people love going to the movies. And
that makes me, thank you for sharing that. That gives me some hope in that. It's sort of like, I think it's not unlike the trucking like system right now, where it's like there's a lot of money to be made, but like everybody sort of knows it's going to be automated and go away. But it's like, well, but if you could spend the next 10, 20 years and provide for your family and have a nice life, like do that. Like, like that's still a viable good thing. So you're right. Like, I think maybe there is hope that like, yeah, maybe eventually it'll all be streaming or it'll change rapidly, but that may be 50, 100 years away. So it's like we could all have successful careers in this industry and make movies and do things before we get to that level. So yeah,
that's whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's over. Yeah.
Yeah, your kids, your grandkids, who cares? We don't know. The world's going to be on fire by then. Who cares? We can't be worried about that.
Shep's going to talk more this time.
I'm just vibing right now. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with not wanting.
I like it. How's your guys' mental health down there?
It's okay.
Yeah.
So hanging in there.
It's been, like I said, it's been the same.
Ups and downs.
We gotta create a lot during everything being shut down, and with me doing music, especially like that. I mean,
oh nice.
You can keep doing that through everything being shut down at home. So
right.
To me, it's more wild now that everything's popping back open, and it's like, we played a couple shows like a month apart, and then now it's like within the last week we're getting booked like 3 shows coming up. And it's pretty cool, but it's like, damn, man, I'm out of shape. I need to get back in shape real quick.
Yeah, and I think we also benefited from, where you guys were starting to get shut down and everything. We kind of benefited from that, from being such a small thing. Like we didn't really have restrictions, so we could just go out and do the thing.
Right.
So we did, and we just kind of took advantage of the time that we had and the resources that we had at the moment, and we made an entire show. So it's like,
yeah. That's a good point. I think there was opportunities there during that. We're all the big guys, like all the unions and everybody that had to adhere to all the letter of the law and all this stuff were shut down and couldn't do anything. People still wanted entertainment and wanted new things. So,
Well, I read about the guys that did that when everything was shut down, everything like all businesses and stuff, they convinced like they that owned a theater, hey, open up today and show our movie in your theater. And that happened to be the only movie that was shown in America that day and became the #1 movie in America just because no other movie was shown anywhere.
Is that right?
I believe so.
That's wild. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Because I believe this was like a real thing I saw somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's Randy saying.
Randy is saying the trucking industry won't go automated until companies can figure out how to make their employees pay for the automated trucks.
Well, I like that. Yeah, like I said, I hope it's around for a very, very long time. I have friends in the industry, and I know a lot, like a lot of people in it, and a lot of people depend on it, from the actual people who are doing the truck driving to the diners along the routes, to the gas stations, to the truck stops, to the, it's a huge part of, American economy that it's kind of scary. The other day I saw, this is a bit of a tangent, but the other day I keep seeing a bunch of automated delivery carts in LA. I've seen probably 3 or 4 different brands of these little robotic carts that are all automated and driving groceries or food deliveries. And I was like, when I see them, I'm always like, I kind of want to kick them over because I'm kind of like this, if this works, if these things don't get trashed or, the homeless don't figure out how to break into them and take groceries, if this works, that's going to be a problem, that's going to be another, job that's automated and goes away. And I don't know. I suppose throughout all time, things get automated. We invent, they invented the loom, the printing press. Yeah. We adapt, we grow. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom.
Somebody's got to fix these robots.
That's right. That's right. I got to get better at facilitating our tech overlords. What do they want? What do the robots want? How can I?
Yeah.
I'm an actor. What kind of performance would they like to see?
Well, while he's Googling this, we're going to talk a little bit about, chasing your dreams and, going for, big things like being an actor or whatever, working in an industry like yours. And, you know, any sort of dream is always going to come with its hardships. And just kind of talking about keeping a positive attitude when those things get thrown at you along the way, you know, whether that be a pandemic, whether that be, you know, a lack of auditions or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
I think optimism is just, I mean, the way I sort of perceive, or the way I think about it is, whatever is happening, it's just, I have a friend, and sometimes we just say to each other, well, that's something. Because it's like, you know, listen, you could be in wild pain, you know, you could be going through heartbreak, or you could be in love and be totally, you know, sky high. You could not have a job and not know where your next paycheck's coming from and be moments away from being kicked out. Or you could be, you know, at the premiere of something, you know, and like having a great moment, you know, having a bit of heat in the moment, you know. And both of those experiences are sort of important and shape the other. So, you know, I would say the thing that I would say, I'm very fortunate to have had some success early on, and some you know, pretty decently large success early on, and then have come down from that and had to live with that, you know, like the because, you know, when you've got in the industry, you know, when you've got heat, like you're on a couple shows, or some agencies come calling, some bigger agencies, and they want you, and everybody sort of, you know, your star meter's up, and you know, you think, and this is all, and you think, well, I'm never coming down from here, like it's only going up. I'm clearly going to just be the next thing, and that's it. Every actor out here thinks that. Like, you wouldn't be in this if every actor didn't think they're going to be the next star. I mean, A-list superstar. You know, they wouldn't be doing it. And I'm very fortunate that, like, early on, I sort of could see the fame and money adjacent. You know, sort of being forced to see it through dating somebody who had done it and seen it. It really sort of gave me a crash course in, oh, like, this is just, you know, like, there's no fewer problems when you succeed. It's just different, you know, like you know, like if you, so at the height of your success, like right now, if I was on a show, like Jay Hernandez is on Magnum PI right now, he's the star, he is Magnum PI.
Yeah.
That's pretty, as a career, like that's pretty high up there. And I watched him not, you know, have no time to figure out the scenes, or like get into the acting. He wasn't afforded any time to process, because they've got him doing promotional work, and they've got him, you know, running from one thing to another. And of course he's happy to do it and never would say boo about it. But I see that, and I see, like, my gosh, he is going, you know, 12, 16 hours a day, and they're getting every bit of that check out of him. I mean, they are, you know, he is worked like a dog, and most people are at that level, you know, like whether it's your physical appearance, like all those Marvel guys, like everybody sees their transformations physically, and that's it. Like, I know it's vain, but it's also incredibly difficult. Like, like they're starving themselves every day and working out like 4 hours a day, and then they're trying to memorize lines and act and do all this, and then they've got all this promotional work. They've got to do the all the morning talk shows, and they've got to do the press tour, and they've got to also be, you know, kind and affable when they're off camera, because everybody's going to comment about them and everybody's going to see them, and it is a full-time 24-hour a day, you know, 7-day a week thing. So I think that my how I'm, because it's just a numbers game. Like, acting is just a numbers game at where I'm at least. You know, I have good agents, I have good managers, I have good people. They get me in for whatever's out there. And it's just a matter of, you have to be perfect for something, because there's thousands of people out here trying to do the same thing. And you know, there's always going to be somebody bigger. There's always going to be a first choice. There's always probably going to be a second choice. And you just have to get fortunate, lucky, you know, whatever. And you have to be great all the time. And you have to get your hopes up and put all your eggs in that basket, and then watch them get dashed. You know, right now it's about 2 times a week. So about 2 times a week on average, I have to go all in and think I'm the best person for this job, and this is the dream role, and I'm going to research everything and be perfect and figure it all out and nail it. And then I nail it, and then I have to just let it go, because odds are I will only book like 1 in 100 if I'm lucky. So that amount of like just sort of constant, it doesn't become rejection anymore. It just becomes a thing. It just becomes like, whatever. So I think I really I really am very like I'm a Christian person, but I'm very Zen about like very like sort of Buddhist mentality about like the ups and downs. It's like yeah man, pain hurts and happiness feels good, but it's all just life. It's all like that's something. I feel horrible. Well, I'm alive. I'm feeling something.
And that's where you learn the most, is in those failures. I mean, we've definitely figured that out over the past year. Is how much making summer camp was like a crash course in filmmaking, and just every time we failed at something, we just learned something new. You don't know what you don't know.
How frustrating is it in the moment when you make something and you see it and you go, well, here's what was in my head and here's what we did, and they don't line up, but like, man, we're getting like, I think I fully appreciate the frustration in that. You know what I mean? It's like, man, it didn't quite line up, but if you can see the positives and see, oh, but we're getting better at this, or oh, I'm doing this better, then like then you've got it.
I believe you saw Easter Sunday, at least, that we did, and we it was a year ago, like last week, I think, and we've come so far from that, and every time we do something, we're just making sure we did better than the last time, and just taking whatever we learned from that. And with summer camp, that was the first time we worked with other actors that weren't just ourselves or our buddies and stuff. Like we actually had auditions, and we did this and we did that. It was all new to us, and we definitely learned a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that the dirty little secret in Hollywood and like in the entertainment industry in general is everybody sort of, it's generally like it's just like this silent agreement that nobody talks about. It just takes massive constant failure. Like it's just that everybody has it, everybody does it. If you look at anybody's career, directors, producers, writers, whatever, you have to fail 1,000 times. And eventually, if you're good and you know what you're doing and you tried or whatever, then there's a chance you might, make something that
might strike gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've taken a kind of, I feel like, an opposite approach from other people, where it's like we set our ambitions very high. Like we're like, this is what we want to make, but we're willing to get what we get out of it. Like we're other people, like at this moment in time, we're still learning. So it's like, we want to make this crazy ass show. We're going to do what we can to hit all that, and whatever we can't, we will creatively figure it out. And at this point, summer camp, the final product did not turn out the way it was originally conceived, but like the original storyline and everything, like we're planning on turning it into a comic book. So it's like that story will get out there, and it's like we've got this version now too. We do have a question here for you. If you may, what was the most tragic rejection you've had? Was there a role where you were truly heartbroken to lose or not get it?
You know what? It's a good question, because I think every time I got my hopes up, it was well, I guess let me put it this way, because I think it's not accurate to say every time I felt like it was I was right and I was dead positive that I was going to get something, I got it. That's not probably accurate. That's not, hindsight, I may think that in my own, positive thinking head. But in reality, I'm sure there were things that I thought, my gosh, I'm perfect for this. But truth be told, there's so many of them that get rejected. I've had so many of those that it's water off a duck's back at this point. Like I honestly can't tell you how many times I have read a script, seen a project, read, because every, my appointment sheets, the agency managers send me a whole breakdown of everything. I look everything up. I read the script. I decide if I'm going to do it. I figure out who's doing it. I figure out what I look at their past work. I see sort of their tone or what they want. Then I have to, do the actual acting, work on the character, figure out what I want. And it takes a Herculean effort every time. So every time you have to think like, I'm perfect for this. This is the dream. You have to get so up for it to do all that, to put all that effort in. And then it just sort of goes away. So at this point, I think the reason why I've been able to stick around this long and just sort of, consistently, a couple times a year, get lucky enough to book something and work, is because I've always sort of known that no matter how much I think I'm perfect, no matter how, heartbroken I am about something, or something I really get excited for and it doesn't work, it always, at the end of the day, I'm always able to go, well, on to the next one. But I think but to answer the question more specifically, I will tell him that I just did a audition to play young Ric Flair. The Rock has a TV show, Young Rock. And so they were auditioning. They had a bunch of young, they early on in the first season, they had hired some people to do young versions of the wrestlers. And then they sort of fired them for whatever reason. I think they wanted more. I think they had hired, it shoots in Australia. And I think they hired a bunch of Aussies, and I'm sure they were good, but I think they for whatever reason went to Hollywood, or, they did more of an open casting call, because I think the show is pretty successful, and they were like, okay, let's spend some money and let's do whatever. So I was really excited about it, because I did a movie with Roddy Piper, and we got to hang out, and I spent a fair amount of time with him, and he was like just amazing to me. And we shot this thing up in the hills up here where it snows in Idlewild, and he needed help. It was a snowstorm. He couldn't get down the mountain. So I was like, he's like, hey, you want to help me get down the mountain? He's like this old grizzled. I mean, he's great. He's an amazing guy. So I helped him, guide him down the mountain, and he bought me McDonald's on the way down. And we just chatted and had this long day. Anyway, I was born in the 80s. I remember Hulkamania and all those cartoons and everything. So it was a huge thrill for me. But that was one. It was just, I want to say it was during the, maybe this was maybe 8 months ago or something. But that one was a specific time where I really had a hard time figuring out because Ric Flair's a real weird character. He's a weird dude, and his mannerisms and stuff. Yeah, exactly. He's a hard guy to get his things down. And I sort of figured out how he moved his mouth and how he talked. And I sort of got it down and felt good about it. And I was like, I sort of keyed in. I think I figured out how I could do a version of him that seemed sort of paid homage to the young version of him. And so I was really excited about it, and, didn't hear anything back. And I was like, oh.
The charisma that he has, it would be hard to copy that.
Yeah.
Charisma.
Yeah. And you think he's just you think he's big, but he's from Minnesota. So he's got this weird Minnesota thing that he, and his but it's barely noticeable. And then the way he says things, it's almost like he's got a weird speech impediment. And he's just you talk shit here. I can't do it anymore. It took me a long time to figure it out. But that was one that was tragic. I was really upset about it, because I was like, man, I would have loved to do that. I would have had to pack on some pounds because he was a big boy. But I would have done it happily, to get the chance to do it, but failed.
It happens.
It happens, yeah. When you're explaining that, it's almost like, the process you go through as a musician and stuff. Of course, every song I create, I think is awesome. And
top 10 on the Billboard. Yeah.
It's all these songs, if I put everything into every song I did and all my emotion behind it, it was just, I used to do that when I was younger and putting out music. I'd be like, everybody's going to listen to this. Everybody's going to love this song. And then maybe 5 people would listen to it. And I'd be like, damn, that's it. Really? This was the one.
Crushing.
Yeah. And then now
it's crushing.
you just go in and you just make songs that you're feeling, and I just do my best on everything, and then hey, if something pops off, it pops off. I'll strike my gold.
Right. Yeah. I think you know what, that's interesting. I think most artists are like that. It's like you have to go all in. You just have to go all in. It's like, even though like, I think knowing that it's not going to work, it does get tougher to stay up for it. I think you see a lot of older. Here's a sidebar, but an interesting story. So my old agency, Bauman, Rodanti and Shaw, they, for a hot minute, they who's amazing. Oh gosh. Dinosaurs, The Fly.
Jeff Goldblum.
So Jeff Goldblum was with a big agency and wasn't getting work and wasn't booking things, left them, went to my small boutique agency, and they had to have a talk with him because they had to figure out, okay, why is this guy, he's a mega star, he's been in Jurassic Park, he's been in all these things, and he's not booking. Nobody, and why is that? So they had to like talk to casting offices and figure out like what's going on here. And so they had a meeting with him, and they found out through talking to offices and like meeting with other people that he had gotten bitter. He had gotten, he was bitter because he should have been Harrison Ford. He should have been, whoever was the number one. He's a tall, strapping, handsome guy who's funny, charming. He was, he's in Jurassic Park. He's in The Fly. Like, he had a trajectory to be the man, and he wasn't getting those roles. And he got really bitter with the industry, with the whole thing. And so they had to have that meeting with him and sort of have a come to Jesus moment of like, hey man, for whatever reason, you're not loving it and people can see it. And it doesn't, that's why you're not, booking this stuff. And so he, to his credit, figured out whatever he needed to do to get in that place to enjoy, to love what he did again. And then he took off again. And then, of course, as actors do, he immediately dropped my old agency and went back with one of the big guys once they rehabilitated his career. But but that's a perfect example of like, sometimes it's, as you get older, it gets harder to get up, especially artistically, for all these things, and it's like I think it takes a certain, I don't know, maybe it's craziness. I don't know what it is, but on Mental Health Monday,
I'm a big, I don't know. I push all the time with myself, all the artist friends around me that like, whatever you're doing, make sure you're passionate about it because it shows in the work. I mean, example that I use often is Rob Zombie when he directed the Halloween movies. The first Halloween movie was his baby. I mean, he poured his heart and soul into that. You can tell. He did not want to do the second movie. He had no desire to do that second movie. The studio wanted the second movie, and you can tell. You can tell
really?
That just kind of did whatever with it. And he got crazy with it. It's like, well, fuck it. If I have to make a second one, I'm going to do whatever I want with it. But you can tell that the passion isn't there quite like it was in the first movie. He never had any intention of doing that second movie. The studio wanted the second movie. So. Oh
yeah. You can totally. I mean, listen. You're right. I think you can totally see it. Everybody can see it. If you're not passionate, like you can tell all the movies that get made that are like agency packaged deals. You can tell. The audience can tell. Like, okay, we get it, and it might still be good. It might still be entertaining. There might be a charming person in the lead who's, good and makes it entertaining. But yeah, you can tell when it's like just business.
Like, a good recent example, I feel like we're both Marvel fans and everything. We usually go to the theater. We always hit the IMAX whenever a comic book movie hits. And we were amongst many people who said, I'm going to pass on Morbius because it was very much just, Sony doing what Sony does with Spider-Man all the time, which is, this is what we have. Come and watch Spider-Man stuff. We're going to just try to use Spider-Man to our biggest advantage. And so much of that feels like a cash grab where it's like this, the Spider-Man stuff over at Marvel feels passionate. Kevin Feige puts a lot of passion into this stuff and it's felt. Whereas, Sony stuff specifically just feels like it's just, they're just trying to get that Spider-Man money.
Some of the money.
Yeah. Well, here's the little inside thing. So Sony traditionally is very good to talent they traditionally will pay your rate and treat people fairly. So all the agencies know that. And so I think, I mean, this is a little dirty, secret that, I don't know. But like agencies take advantage of Sony, and they will package together things and put together things and get them to make things because it is money. And most agencies are great at figuring out the money, figuring out, well, what will people make? And a perfect example is Morbius. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. It's real. Like I'm sure I know people that worked on the set. I'm sure I know people that are part of it. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Like nobody's going to deny that it's bad. And yet it made money. It made money. If you look at the box office and the international, it made money. So these agents and like the people that are like in charge of and represent the biggest people, the biggest directors, the biggest actors, a lot of times they will, like Sony is genuinely, I think, a really good company. Like they really take care of their talent. They really pay people the proper amount. And I think a lot of times these big agencies take advantage of that and put things together over there that they know will be a cash cow, and they don't really care like what the quality is. And you're right, they're not passionate about it. Right. But Sony, the executives of Sony trust. They go, well, we're not the artists. Like we trust these people that are the artists. And so if they're passionate, they're whatever, then we'll do it and we'll pay them and we'll make that. And so I think that's what's happened with the Spider-Man stuff. Like Venom, Tom Hardy's great, Michelle Williams is great. Like they put great people all together, and it's never the sum. It never is as good as the sum of its parts, because it's just it's kind of what the agent, like all the big agencies, the big four or whatever, kind of do. That's funny. It's kind of sad. So like on that side, it's kind of sad. I feel for Sony in that they just want to make movies, and they don't like, it's a shame that I think a lot of the bigger agencies sort of take advantage of them, willing to pay people.
That angle on it, because I enjoy Sony as a company, other than when they're handling the Spider-Man stuff, because it just seems like they've got no grasp on it whatsoever. And
right.
They just don't want to let it go to Marvel. They're just like, this is all we have. Like, please don't take this. As far as the franchise goes, I feel like it's their biggest one they got. And I don't blame them.
They sort of relinquish
control. I said I don't blame them for wanting to not relinquish control over to Marvel.
Yeah.
It is their
it's huge money. Huge money. They're like, well, we're obviously going to keep making these, so give us a script. And I think, man, yeah, you're right though. God, I thought Venom I was disappointed in. Venom 2, also not, like they have great, it's a shame because it's such great, they get all these great people, and then the stories are not, the quality. And then Morbius, good gosh.
Jared Leto can't catch a break when it comes to comic book movies.
Yeah. It's true.
He really can't, man.
I mean, he's trying. I think he's doing whatever he can do with the material. I just think, good gosh, the material was so not there. Also, I think it should be a positive thing for all of us hopeful future filmmakers and storytellers that this stuff gets made, because it's like, well, they're clearly desperate for good storytellers.
There's plenty of that. There's plenty of movies I see all the time that I'm like, oh, we're good. We got this. If this can get made, we can get funded for something.
There's so many streaming channels. There's so many options. If you make good quality stories, somehow, some way, you'll find, somebody will find you and go, hey, we need it. We need content. Like, what do you got? So that's optimistic. That's a positive aspect of it. Yeah.
Oh, I got an update from earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that. Let's see here. Let me get these guys' name. It's in West Hampton Beach, New York. Long Island filmmaker. Despite the theaters being closed, Christian Nielsen.
That's great, Christian Nielsen.
Yeah, he said. Him and a friend.
It was the only movie out at the time. Like, it was just.
Him and a friend on YouTube were talking about how the movie theaters were all closed due to the pandemic, and he said they joked about they put a film in the theater, it would instantly be the top in the box office.
Right.
So what they did was they said that this is what the film distribution world calls four-walling is they rented a theater, bought all the seats within the theater, and then played their film that a horror short called Unsubscribe that they filmed a week later, like the following week over Zoom. And they said that they played it in the theater. The next day it was #1 box office movie in America as reported by the numbers, and that eventually IMDb contacted them being like, we don't think that there was actors in it, so they proved that to them. And then finally the Box Office Mojo,
they acknowledged,
widely recognized box office tracker had them as #1 for their movie. So
that's awesome.
They ended
that's
up
a great story.
Yeah, so where there's a will, there's a way to make a boom and make a pop and make a pop. And that just goes to show, like, if you just keep going out there and not taking failure as an option, just letting that roll off, going out there, you never know which one's going to be the one that gets all eyes on you.
Right. Yeah. And I think to tie into that, like, I think the positive message of, like, if just keep going, like, have hope, be hopeful, and continue to do what you're doing. I think the positive message is that you should always, like, if you're confident that that is currently making you happy, then that's the key. I think there's people that do a lot, whether it's music or movies or TV or anything. I think some people chase the future of a thing. Like, well, I'm not happy now, but if I keep doing it, then eventually I'll have this. And I think the secret, especially to, like, mental health, is just contentment in all things. So it's like, well, I mean, I think it is good to strive and want to have more and do more and be better. But if you don't love what you're doing in that moment, whatever that art is or whatever that thing is, you're not going to love it when you have wild success.
Right.
Like, you're not, so it's like,
it's crazy. Well, see, this is crazy because I just watched the Tony Hawk documentary the other night.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Is it good?
It's very good. And this was like one of the first parts that they were speaking of, because, when he was like 16, and 14, 15, 16, that's when he got like worldwide fame. And he's beating all these guys every competition. He's #1, and they're, Stacey Peralta's sitting there talking like, what do you do at 16 when you achieve your top dream in life and you're doing that, and then realizing, like,
where do you go?
Fun. I'm not having fun. I'm not making friends here, because they're like, cool, he showed up, he's just gonna win. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and then, like with him and his journey, it seemed like he realized his competition was only going to be within himself from that point on. And if he's already hit dreams, well, now he can just start going crazy. And that's when he started inventing all these tricks, and, in my opinion, cementing himself as a legend in life.
Right.
So, like I said, it goes to show you that I just lost my train of thought, man.
You got to love
doing it.
Yeah,
like doing it no matter what, doing it because you love it, not because it's a competition.
And you realize, you're not having fun and you're not loving what you do. It's not out of the norm to take a step back and regrouping yourself and realizing what the real deal is.
Yeah, I mean, if we've talked about it once, we've talked about it a million times on the show about how Shep and I doing this. It's like every 3 months it's like clockwork. Every 3 months we have to kind of take a step back and just kind of check ourselves and make sure that we're happy with what we're doing, because sometimes we will fall into that, whether it's like, okay, well, people like this, so let's do more of that. It's like, well, we don't like doing that. It doesn't make us happy. And so, and that's usually our, the least amount of quality comes out of that and everything. And
you can tell.
Yeah, and it shows in the work. So we always make sure that whatever we're doing is something we want to be doing, that makes us happy, that brings us joy, that we want to see. And that's not how I've always operated as a writer. It's like, I'm writing stories that I want to see, because I know people out there, not everybody's going to want to see it, but there are people who will want to see it, because I watch all sorts of stuff, whether it's indie, Marvel, what have you. I watch some weird shit, it doesn't matter. Like, I know that I'm a fan of things like this. So,
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, I think you'll find your audience. You know what I mean? Like I think people find your audience. You'll find like if you are, and listen, I get it. You got at the end of the day, you got to pay the bills. Like not all of us can be independently wealthy. Like God love you if you are. Like if you have a trust fund or some rental properties or whatever, like, and you can just make art and never make a dime on it. Great, go. Like I said, I don't wish anybody. Like I don't want. I think that's great. Like I fully am happy with it for those people. But for the rest of us that have to find a way to pay the bills, it's like, yeah, like that, you have to find that balance of like, okay, I'm going, like I want to make art, and I want to create art, but I know like the vast majority of people who are artists don't pay the bills doing that. They got to find some other way, do some whatever. So, okay, do whatever you can do that affords you the most time to continue your art and continue to do what you love, because that's what you love. And, if you can someday get to a point where you can do that and pay the bills with that, great. But if not, that's great too. Like, don't stop. Like, just, like, don't stop just because, well, because I think that happens a lot too, where people get to a point and they go, well, I got to pay the bills. And so I'm going to take the biggest job I can that pays the most. And most jobs that pay the most also take the most amount of time. So it's like, so you can chase the money, or you can chase, the art to the most extent. But I think the best life is probably somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? The most content life, where it's like you should continue to chase your art, but also be able to pay the bills and make a living, but not fall so in love with paying the bills and making money that you go full tilt that way and forget about your art. Because I think that, sadly, I think that's sort of the tragedy of the majority of adulthood in general. You know what I mean? Like when you think of adults, you think of people who sort of just let their art die. They used to play the piccolo, or they used to do great, whatever, sculptures, or, paint or whatever. And they haven't done it in years. And it's like, man, that's sad. Like,
well, doing summer camp, like I know I personally was hit with like a lot of reality of what it is that I've been pursuing this whole time. And I had to ask myself, like, is this what you want to do?
Right.
And I think it does kind of come in waves, like those people, because like everybody wants to be a musician, everybody wants to be an actor, everybody wants to make movies, and there's like that first wave of people that like just never do it,
Right.
and that's why they never move forward.
Yeah, they see it and they go, okay, I see that that's cool. I'm not even going to try that.
Yeah, and then once they, they're the people who see the reality of the situation, they're like, fuck that. That's way
Right.
that is not what I want to do. And because
Yeah.
it is work, it's a lot of work. You kind of said this earlier on the show, but when we talked on the phone the other day, what you said about all these problems we have now. I could win an Oscar someday, and the day after I win that Oscar, all those problems are still going to be there waiting on set. It'll be all the same work. It's still work.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I really liked, when we talked on the phone the other day, it's a nice thing to sort of be aware of. I mean, for me too, and for everybody, I think that works, that wants to like entertain people. It's like, listen, whether you're on the street on Santa Monica juggling for people, or whether you are, like I said, on stage on Broadway, dancing for people, both of those things bring their own troubles and their own stresses. And, I think there is a minimum amount of financial health you need to exist and not be destitute and not be so stressed out. So that's fair. But I think it's all the same. And like we talked about, I think it's good to keep that in mind, that like, where you're at now, versus the guy, where the guys are who are making an indie and, won the short film category this year for the Oscars, or the guys that whatever, that, you're the same. There's no difference. And it's like, I think from the Midwest, especially, we sort of have to, I think it takes a certain mentality to realize that. Because I think a lot of people in the Midwest just go, well, those are the shiny people, and we aren't them. So we have to work, and they get to do the fun, like the beautiful people, the rich people, they go do the fun stuff, and we don't get to do any of that. And it's like, well, we're no different. We're the same humans. They're no different. It's just access. Like if you were born in Hollywood high school and doing what you're doing, you'd be having more financial success and more whatever just by proxy of where you live. But a lot of times the grind makes you better, makes your stuff better, and you appreciate it more. So it's like, they're the same, they're just different. It's like you could have more your early success, but not have the joy, not have that high because you didn't have the low. So you don't know how hard it is. Or you can go the long way and have that low, and it's incredibly difficult. But when you achieve some success or have somebody acknowledge that you're good, it feels so much better than if you had never had to struggle. So it's like, I know plenty of people in my industry who are doing the same job I am and who were born very fortunate and didn't have to struggle and had parents that were in it or did whatever. And I don't begrudge them because it's just different, and they'll never know, they'll never have the lows, and that's great, but they'll also never have the highs, and that's too bad, so.
True. And my girlfriend and I were just talking earlier about, she does photography, and she's been told that, like, okay, well, you can't make a living doing that. And I'm like, I think that's just kind of a mentality here in the Midwest because all of that is so far away from us.
Yeah.
And here in the Midwest, people are a little more discouraging and things like that. A little more practical, I think, is a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like, you can do that, but it's more of a hobby. Like people will treat it like it's a hobby, but they won't treat it like it's a serious career path.
You have to
be your own cheerleader.
Right. Yeah. I think that is spot on. I think it takes more. You have to have more confidence. You have to be more assured than anybody else. Like you have to just know without a doubt. Like no, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm really good at that. And I think that I think it can be detrimental if there is no, if you get no positive feedback on that. Like if you spend your whole life thinking, no, I've got to do this no matter what, and everybody's telling you you're not good at this, this is not your thing, then that's a mental health issue. Like that's, that you got to look at that and go, okay, maybe that's not my path. But I can't tell you how many like little kernels, little things along the way that my brain has to pull out to keep going, so like you guys, like when you have even the YouTube channel or the movies that you're making or the scripts that you're writing or all this stuff, it's like if there somewhere along the way somebody sees something or reads a script or watches a thing or sees you guys work a set and goes, hey, you're good at this, or hey, this, like you've got something here, man, like, yeah, hold on to those, positive things. And like, cause then you sort of know, okay, I'm not insane. Like, I don't need to be committed. Yeah. Like, this is what I'll do. And truth be told, even if nobody approved, if you still loved doing it, who cares? Like you've won life. Like how many people, there are so many people out there that are working a job, getting paid incredibly well, have wife and kids or husband and kids, and are all looking at you guys going, man, I wish I could do that. Yeah. Like, I wish I just did it. I wish I just made movies or wrote stuff, because I've always wanted to do that. And I never had, I never did it. So it's like, no matter what your financial health situation or what your location or what your job or whatever you have to do, your time stresses or whatever, if you're doing what you love, and genuinely like love the thing that you're doing, not just what it could be, then I think that's sort of the secret to life. You know what I mean? Like you've done it. You're there. You've already reached the height.
Yeah. Really throwing it.
Large.
Like there's a large majority seem to find life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, and I think that's fine too. And I do know a lot of people like that who are like, listen, I just want to work and I want to make, enough to provide for my family and have my weekends and enjoy life. I think, that's also, I don't think that's the Midwest. I think that is like the wild majority of humans on the earth. They're like, yeah, like life is fun. Like I want to make, whatever the economy tells me I do well, I'm going to do that and make the money. And then I'm going to travel and enjoy and have fun.
Randy did throw in another question earlier here. whether you want to get into that question or not, we'll leave that to you, sir.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the most difficult was, and I think he knows this. The guy, Bobby, Robert Carradine. I think.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
I believe we got into this the last time you were on the show.
Yeah. I told you last time, but I think by far, I think it's, he's by far the most insane, difficult actor ever. And it's, I hope, my optimistic theory is that it was a moment in time for him. You know what I mean? Like, he normally doesn't bring a gun to a set. He normally doesn't throw people out of makeup chairs. He normally doesn't hold up production for an hour to take a kid to Red Lobster. Because he showed up late to set and he wanted to teach him what it meant to be an actor or something. He normally doesn't berate and cuss out crew. He normally doesn't get written off of get written off of a movie because he's so difficult. Revenge of the Nerds man himself. I think, and he, to his credit, or as much credit as you can give him, after it was all said and done, he tried to reach out to all the cast and crew to apologize. He said he was trying to be method. He was, he was playing the killer and trying to do a thing and trying to make it special. And I can respect that and appreciate it. But man, yeah, it was by far the most crazy, difficult actor I had worked with on a set. Nobody's close. Nobody comes close to that. Most actors are gracious and wonderful, and the higher up on the food chain, the nicer. Like, case in point, I just working on HBO. This thing I just did. That's funny. Yeah, it was wild. The sheriff's office had to come to set for the remainder of the shoot in fear that he would show up with a gun and something horrible would happen. But I digress. So the show Perry Mason is the production company is Robert Downey Jr.'s production company, and they are fantastic. Like, he is, arguably is the highest paid actor in Hollywood right now. Is like the biggest name, the biggest whatever, and he couldn't be better at his job. Like, he couldn't be, everything that he touches is really high quality. Like, that set, they knew what everything costs, and they paid whoever they needed to pay, and they hired the people that needed for every job to be done perfectly. And the from the costumes to the set design, everything was perfect. Was just fantastic. And it's like, you can tell those people that are that high up, like, they got that high up for a reason. Like, they're genuinely good people most of the time, and always great at their job. Always great. Like, so The Right Stuff was a show on Disney Plus that got canceled, but I was in the early part of that and got to go through all the prep work with him because I was in the pilot episode. So I spent, weeks in Orlando shooting that. And that was Appian Way, which is Leonardo DiCaprio's production company. And he is great. Like, that production company takes the time, spends the money, does whatever they need to do to make sure that everything is done, to the best of, the best that it can be. And it shows. Sometimes things don't work out, but like they put their best foot forward, and they don't skimp on anything, and not just money, but like time and effort and people, so it, the higher up you get, the more you see that generally there's like really great people making really great stuff, and then there's a mountain of middlemen and agencies and bureaucrats and everybody who hide the good people and keep them buried. And then there's a bunch of great creators on the bottom writing really good scripts and making really good stuff and hoping to get, and when those two can fight through all the BS in Hollywood and meet each other, that's when you get, whatever, Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you get, these small, great creators in touch with these great artists and actors who are genuinely good people and great at their jobs. And when that happens, like, you get really, fantastic production. But I don't know what that has to do with mental health, except Robert Carradine was in fact an insane person on that set. That's the mental health Monday part of that.
Well, we're coming to our time here, so closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. The new music is lovely. I like the background. It's very office. I like the library in the back. You guys look very serious, very studious. I still have my janky desk and janky spare office room, so I gotta work on my style.
We're getting there, upgrading where we can.
It's been a year, so hopefully we can all maybe next year we'll get together and we'll vastly improve. Who knows? Who knows where we'll be? You guys may be on the Oscar red carpet next year.
My goal is to get there by the 100th, so we got a little bit of time.
What was the last one? What was this one?
94, I think. Today
Okay.
We're 96. I don't know.
Okay, that's not crazy. That's doable.
I said at the beginning of 2020 that I had a 5-year plan. I went the Wu-Tang Clan route and basically like RZA told the Wu-Tang Clan, give me 5 years, we'll all go to the top. And,
there you go.
Lead the charge. And so far, this is like year 2, roughly. Yeah. And it's 5 years, and I had like 6 or 7 before the 100th Oscars. So we got the time. We got
plenty of time. Plenty of time. And I think the thing that I think anybody who watches this or is watching it needs to know is that like that is not bullshit. I'm going to say. I'm going to cuss. Sorry. That is not some silly pipe dream bull, and I'm not being patronizing or being like disingenuous by saying that that's a real thing, because I have seen it. I had an ex-girlfriend who I'm dear friends with to this day. She was in a short film that won the Oscar for short live action. She played Robert F. Kennedy. She played Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy in LBJ, a Rob Reiner movie. And these are just people who are like just working just a working actress. And yeah, like her, like that movie won an Oscar. So, and that guy, the guy that made it was no different, just trying to create stuff and make stuff. And I think it's important for people to know that, you know what I mean? Like that it's not bull. There's no pipe dream. Like anybody from anywhere, no matter what. And I especially, we talked about the Midwest mentality. I think it's important for Midwest people to hear that and know that like nobody's different. Like, yeah, there's different access, and yeah, it's easier path for a lot of people. But the easier path also means it's not going to be as good. You're not going to have to work as hard, and so you're not going to get as good. And it's not, So I genuinely think it's not crazy to say you guys couldn't create something or write a script or produce something or something that gets worldwide recognition, and you get to a place where you can do this and just pay the bills doing it. And whether it's at whether that means you're working for like Shudder or whatever that horror film streamer is,
right?
Shudder, yeah. Whether it's that and you're just making movies on that, or you're making movies with whatever Russell Crowe and accepting Oscars, like it's all the same and it's all possible. So, yeah, man.
If you got the connect over at Adult Swim, you let us know, because we've had our eyes on them for the past year now.
Adult Swim. I'm trying to think if I know it. I know one girl who does animation shows and writes comedies for anime, and I think some of her stuff's been on Adult Swim. So maybe
there's a live action void over there, just ready for Chase and Shep to fill it. So
okay, Adult Swim stuff. Okay. I'll keep my eye out. I'll send her a note. See, I know some crazy guys from the Midwest. Right up your alley. Right up your alley.
Fantastic. Yep. So I'd say, Shep, closing thoughts for you?
If you're not passionate about doing something, take a step back and think about it. To me, all the greatest people, actors, musicians, anything, are probably people that really just loved what they were doing. They loved making music, and then the product that we all enjoyed was just that. They were just loving what they were at and where they're at in life. So try to be content with what you want to do and you'll love doing
it. Amen.
Thank you, Randy, for being so.
Yeah, appreciate the questions and for tuning in. Yeah, that was great.
Appreciate it. somebody's got to lead the charge. Everybody's shy. All these people watching. We see the counter up here, and the only person brave enough to ask the hard hitting questions. Right?
Although
Yeah,
Bush
seriously.
is stopping with the Ric Flair.
That's true. Right? Yes, that's true.
Put me on the spot. I hope Robert Carradine and his family now doesn't come after me.
I know, or us by extension, because this is the second time this has come up on our show. So,
Oh, you guys! I'm sending him straight to your guys. If he shows up with a gun, I'm just sending him straight to you.
that's fine.
We'll make something out of it.
Yeah.
He'll be an
Make
army.
for a great documentary.
But well, Tyler, it's been great talking.
Yeah,
to you.
likewise, guys. Always love chatting with you anytime. Yeah, let me know.
Definitely, we've leveled up a little bit, so maybe in a year's time we'll see where we all are then.
Yeah, hey, listen, I think the dream would be to do, get to a point where we could all do something. That'd be super fun.
Yeah, one of these days. One of these days
We'll be there.
we'll get there.
I agree. I'm with you.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you again, Tyler.
Yeah.
Monday.
Smooches and deuces.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I have the music turned down. We're not that good yet, even after a year.